cost cap campaigns in Facebook. Yeah, they're sexy. Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, everybody's talking about how you can get a really short win. And yeah, everybody's saying like, oh man, this is absolutely what I'm building my basis off of. And there's a whole bunch of really bad information. And a lot of people think that you should absolutely do it. But there's a really big issue that a lot of people aren't really telling you and why it's actually a big liability to your overall success, because most people are wildly misappropriating this awesome tool. I'm here to tell you why they're wrong, what people are telling you to do, how you should be doing it, and how this tool can actually be a great benefit to you. But it's probably not in the way you've been done. Cost cap, let's go. Okay. Cost cap bidding. Now, first off, let's give a little history real quick. Cost cap bidding is a modification of an old style of bidding that came around. It was just called manual bid. And you just told Facebook, instead of auto bid, we're going to do a manual bid, because it used to not be lowest cost, it was auto bid. Now, what happened is manual bid, basically you were able to define, I'm willing to pay this much. And they started to offer other versions of it. And there's target cost and then ultimately cost cap. Now, cost cap bidding, the way people tell you to do it is basically, hey, throw everything in a cost cap bidding, tell the system what you want it to do, and it'll deliver you that or better. Only it doesn't really work like that, does it? Like, we're constantly facing this issue of, well, it doesn't really spend everything, or it's costing me more than that. And then people are like, well, you do cost cap, but then you put like 20% more than you want to pay. That way you win the auction, and you start really getting away from why you're even using it in the first place. And then people say, well, it's really unstable, there's this and that and whatever. And there's a fundamental reason why this isn't working for you. And there's a big reason as to why it works for some folks. But have you noticed that it doesn't really work for a long time? Have you noticed that you launch a cost cap and 3 days later, maybe 7 days later, it just stops working for you? I mean, maybe it still spends, maybe, but the results get worse and worse. And then you're complaining like, well, Facebook's not stable. How am I supposed to use this tool? Like, this is, it's what... that frustration comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of how it's used. Now, let me tell you why it's super popular. It's super popular because the folks, the experts out there in the world that, again, most of them aren't actually people that do the work. Most of them are the salespeople that take credit for other people's work and then sell bad advice at scale, because honestly, running their business relies on them having that reoccurring revenue, because maybe they're not doing their clients enough justice to keep in the flow of money. My point here is why cost cap does work is because it takes the data that you have and allows the system to use that to find other good people. Now, if you're listening to what I'm saying, there's two things that are really important. Number one is it takes the data that you have. So it relies upon a large amount of data to predict the future, right? Cost caps, like lookalikes and like 7-day attribution or optimization, are elements that rely on being able to predict the future successfully, repeatedly, at scale, in order to ultimately deliver you consistent success. Now, the honest truth is, we all know that getting lucky is hard, and predicting the future when your business model is getting lucky is even harder. And well, we've all seen the downstream negative effects of really trying to rely on getting lucky by predicting the future at scale on an ad account where you're probably not already built on some solid foundation. We've all seen how that really kind of lends to some issues. So what are you supposed to do? Well, first off, let's respect what this is actually doing. Number one, this is an attempt to predict the future based off of a high confidence bit of data. So the first thing we need is a high confidence bit of data. How do you get that? Well, you run what we now call lowest cost bidding. You get a large amount of information. Now, another thing that you really want to maybe think about is your cost cap the foundation? Is that where you're spending the majority of your money? So is the largest portion of your investment built on something where you're trying to get lucky at predicting the future? Or are you using it as designed, where it's incremental to your business? The design for cost cap and the way you're supposed to use it is not in that it's the bulk of your spend. It's what you do when you want to find a little edge. If cost cap is reflective of more than 10-20% of your overall budget, I'm willing to say that probably 10-20% of your overall time is spent frustrated as hell as to why your Facebook ad account is unstable and not very productive. if you use the crutch of cost cap in order to try to scale spend, understand that you are fundamentally limiting yourself in three ways. Number one, you don't have a solid foundation strong enough to succeed. So you're already basically running Facebook ads with training wheels. So you're not really running a very successful situation. And you are fundamentally limiting part two, your long-term stability and your success. If you don't have something that's stable and it's not built on data, but more on, again, getting lucky by predicting the future, it's going to be really hard to scale because you are going to rely on it to get luckier and luckier and be right more and more often. Now, the likelihood of that happening is, well, basically zero. So it is of no surprise to me that people constantly have these troubles. The last thing is, it's not meant to be the thing that helps you spend more money. It's designed to be the thing that helps you limit the cost per whatever your target result is. In this case, let's say cost per purchase or cost per lead or whatever. Now, again, if you're running lead gen and you're going off of cost, understand that the lowest cost lead is generally the highest level of shit lead that you can get. That's a whole other thing. When we're getting here into cost cap and say e-com, that's the thing that's going to help you steal some low-hanging fruit. Now, when you do that, understand that might come at the cost of some of the success of other efforts that you're running, right? I mean, if you're having a campaign solely designed to steal the success of other pieces, will that or will that not steal the success of other pieces? Will that make the other efforts you have less stable or less effective? The honest answer is probably so. Now, how do we fight against that? Well, we don't layer predictive element on top of predictive element on top of predictive element in a way that ultimately inhibits our base. So one, we make a base around our best audience. Broad. Age, gender, location. In addition to that, when we do run cost cap, we don't run predictive bidding on cost cap against a lookalike audience that's, again, trying to predict the future. Because remember, all of your ads already make lookalike audiences. A lookalike audience is a subset of the history to try to say, yes, you want to reach all of these people, but we're not going to let you reach the vast majority. You can only talk to these people, and hopefully the people that you can talk to also has a high overlap with the ads that we're running. And if we can predict the future on how they're going to behave in the future, with this bid, then we're going to be able to understand how much we're going to spend against them. And if we're running that on like a 7-day click, 1-day view, are we going to be able to say, well, yes, this small subset of this larger group, and hopefully we have a Venn diagram where we're able to predict the actions they're going to take today. And not only is it today, but hopefully we can understand what that person's going to do in 5 days. That is a pretty shit way of running a business. And is probably why you're seeing a lot of struggle. So how are you supposed to use cost caps? Well, as somebody who spent millions and millions of dollars, let me tell you how you're properly supposed to utilize this really important tool. It is the thing that you use when you need incrementality. And by that I mean when you have something that is stable and your creative isn't working, your creative testing isn't moving the needle, and your strategic testing has limitations. If you want a short win tactical solution, which sometimes is absolutely the right thing to do, in those cases, it might be absolutely a solid move to bring in something that says, we have a very high confidence what somebody's going to do. We are not going to force you to predict the future, so we're going to get down to a very tight optimization window, meaning that I want you to get this action done today. Okay. So I don't have to predict what somebody's going to do in 6 days. Awesome. Got it. I may or may not do as well, but I'm going to be far more fucking consistent at what I'm going to get done. Number two, I don't want you to have to worry about like lookalike audiences and all of this other stuff. Like, just go after anybody. I don't want to limit your success by trying to be smart. I'm not going to put my ego over your performance. So go after anybody you think can be done. Third, we're going to use ads that are already proven, that have been stable, that have been running for days, weeks, months, years. because we have an extraordinarily high confidence that we know what this thing's going to do, and we know that Facebook has a very high level of data to be able to deliver consistent results on that effort. And lastly, we're going to use that at less than 20% of our overall budget. The point of that campaign is to bring down our average cost. If we bring down our average cost, we're going to train the algorithm to understand what success can look like for us. And if we get better and better at getting that success for us, we can overcome sometimes the market just becomes more expensive. We see short-term, blips on the radar. Maybe what we need to do to overcome those short-term things is have a tactical solution to understand when we face a headwind, this is what we do. It's not what we're going to do every single day, but when we face struggle, this is a tactic we can use to prevent our overall loss in a way that ultimately makes our long-term efforts smarter and more stable. Because remember, the system sees all the conversions that you get. It tries to deliver you consistent results. If you want better consistent results, get better results. Cost cap can help bring down your average cost. And if you can do so in a way that does not impede the other efforts you have, i.e. going broad, then you're going to have the minimal effect on your legacy efforts and your ecosystem as a whole, while also doing the absolute best job at delivering consistently stable results in a fashion that you can predict. Because remember, we're going off of a one-day click, maybe one-day view, at a broad audience using proven ads with a small percentage of our budget. An easy win to reduce our average cost. That's how you use cost cap bidding. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. If you like this, you want to see more, you can obviously sub right there. And hey, look, if you want to see more stuff, I think YouTube's suggesting you watch that video. I have no idea what this video is, but check it out. Anyway, see you later on the internet. Hi, my name is Charlie.